one final trick. With a dark reality-shifting power, he warped dimensions, creating illusions to disorient Lao Zhao. His clones began attacking from all sides. Lao Zhao fought back, but the relentless onslaught left him exhausted. And then the real battle began. Lao Zhao muttered, "I never expected him to be this smart." The enemy's technique was so effective that even Lao Zhao's speed was useless against it. Face King's speed had also increased dramatically. He was using his illusion so flawlessly that he kept wounding Lao Zhao repeatedly. Lao Zhao smirked and said, "Well, at least I forced you to use your hidden powers." But no matter how many times he struck with his sword, the beast's sheer physical strength kept protecting it. Just as the beast was about to land a fatal blow on Lao Zhao, he grinned and said, "If you want, we can play this game all day." That's when the real battle began, fiercer and deadlier than before. The injuries were brutal, and Lao Zhao had to dodge every single one of the enemy's techniques while looking for an opening. But then he realized something shocking. The beast wasn't just using its normal powers. Its abilities had evolved, becoming exponentially stronger. Telekinesis alone was no ordinary power, and yet Face King was wielding it effortlessly. Even so, Lao Zhao managed to block each attack. Then, in a devastating moment, Ghostface King landed a powerful punch that shattered all of Lao Zhao's ribs. He was sent flying, crashing into the ground below. Blood poured from his wounds, but he refused to surrender. Gritting his teeth, he muttered, "Imagine if I had the power of the Forbidden Rune. You'd be dead 100 times over by now." But as he struggled to stand, Ghostface King unleashed an even more brutal assault, beating him mercilessly. Meanwhile, in another part of town, we see Mike at home. Just then, his informant, a bat, delivered urgent news. The moment Mike heard it, he bolted out the door. His brother tried to stop him, asking, "Where are you going in this storm?" But his brother quickly realized Mike wasn't just a normal person anymore. All he could think about was Lao Zhao, who was on the verge of death. Ghostface King had completely shattered Lao Zhao's bones and now lifted him into the air, his breathing shallow, his life hanging by a thread. But the worst was yet to come. Ghostface King grabbed both of Lao Zhao's legs, preparing to tear him apart. That's when Lao Zhao's mind flashed to a small device, the symbol of a night monster slayer. But it wasn't just a symbol, it was a weapon. With his last ounce of strength, he grabbed his sword and slashed at the beast's legs. Enraged, the beast slammed him into the ground and lifted a massive rock to crush him. Lao Zhao smirked and muttered, "Finally, it's time." The moment the rock struck, the symbol activated, flooding his body with an incredible energy surge. Ghostface King suddenly found himself unable to stand against him. Lao Zhao's injuries healed in mere seconds, and his body transformed, elevated to superhuman levels. The power of the Forbidden Rune coursed through him. Lao Zhao grinned. "All right, let's finish this the right way." At that moment, Mike arrived, breaking through a magical shield with a single strike. Ghostface King roared in pain as Lao Zhao severed one of his hands. Lao Zhao laughed, reveling in his newfound power. "I knew it. I'm a genius. I was meant to be an agent of God." But just then a voice interrupted. "Didn't you tell me you didn't have the Forbidden Rune's power?" It was Mike. Lao Zhao turned to him. "Kid, what are you doing here?" Mike shrugged. "Nothing, just passing time." But the battle wasn't over. The beast regenerated its lost hand and prepared to strike again. Lao Zhao smirked and turned to Mike. "Kid, watch closely. You need to pay special attention to this cut." Mike frowned. "Why?" Lao Zhao grinned. "Because this knife is about to become something truly beautiful." Then, he channeled the power of the moon into his sword. Darkness engulfed the battlefield, but the blade began to glow with an eerie silver light. Just as Ghostface King lunged forward, Lao Zhao struck, first unleashing an attack so powerful it caused a massive explosion of energy. And then silence. Ghostface King's head fell from his shoulders. Finally, it was over. Lao Zhao stood victorious, stylishly pulling out a cigarette. With a smirk, he exhaled a puff of smoke and said, "Look at how flawlessly I executed the plan," said Mike. As he pulled out a lighter, suddenly he collapsed. Mike rushed to him, panic setting in as he tried to understand what had just happened. The energy had drained from his body. This was the backlash from using forward Enruse's power. And now, he wouldn't survive. Lao Zhao, tell me what's happening to you. Whatever it is, I'll get you to a hospital, Mike pleaded. But Lao Zhao shook his head. It won't change anything. I use the power of ghosts and gods, and it can only be used once in a lifetime. The price is my life. But honestly, I don't regret it. I always watched Captain Jung and the others wield their powers, and I yearned to experience that kind of strength. Now I finally have. But this power, it's as dangerous as it is incredible. If I had more time, I would have won that medal, he continued, his voice weakening. I would have gone home and shown it to my mother. She would have been so proud. Mike was on the verge of tears. Lao Zhao, you're not leaving me, right? There's still so much I need to learn from you. Lao Zhao managed a weak smile. Your teacher has already taught you life's greatest lesson. Mike clenched his fists. Yes, and I'll never forget it. With a trembling hand, Lao Zhao put a cigarette in his mouth, and Mike tried to light it for him. But the rain had soaked the lighter, rendering it useless. The cigarette slipped from Lao Zhao's lips, and in that moment, he took his final breath. Watching him die broke something in Mike. Tears welled in his eyes, anger, regret, sorrow, all crashing over him. This man had fought alone against thousands, with no family to mourn him. And yet, no one in this city would ever know of his sacrifice. The crowds, oblivious, would go on with their lives, never realizing that an ordinary man had given everything to save them. Why, Lao Zhao? Mike whispered. Why did you do this? Why did you leave me? But before he could grieve, a horrifying sight unfolded before him. Ghostface King's body was regenerating. His severed head and arm reformed as he stood once again, ready to strike. Mike's body surged with power, an energy shield forming around him. He reached for Lao Zhao's sword, his only weapon now. Ghostface King attacked, but the shield held strong. Then, as the enemy lunged, Mike raised the sword, channeling his full potential. The moment Ghostface King struck, Mike countered, his blade cutting through the monster. A blinding beam of energy shot into the sky, and Ghostface King's body split in two. Mike stood there, victorious. But it meant nothing because he had lost his closest friend. This wasn't over. The story had only just begun. At that very moment, Young was racing toward them, desperate to reach Lao Zhao. But as she drew closer, Captain's voice echoed in her ear, warning her, Young, be prepared for whatever happens. Lao Zhao's energy hasn't moved in minutes, and that can only mean one thing. Shut up, she snapped. He's fine, I know he is. But then, Lao Zhao's energy signature flickered. Young's heart leaped. See, I told you he'd be okay. Yet, when she finally arrived, reality shattered her hopes. There in front of her was Mike, carrying Lao Zhao's lifeless body. The sight was devastating. She couldn't accept it. Lao Zhao was gone. Mike, his voice heavy with determination, finally spoke. From this moment on, I will take General Lao Zhao's place. I'll finish what he started. The rest of the team was arriving, the weight of Lao Zhao's death sinking in. He had burned through every ounce of his strength in his battle against Ghostface King, and it had cost him everything. Now Mike had made his choice, and this was just the beginning. When Ghostface King completes Mike's transformation into a night monster slayer, the news is officially documented and sent to his home. 2 military officers arrive at his aunt's house to deliver the news. Seeing them at her doorstep, Mike's aunt is shocked. Why would army personnel be visiting her? Mike's younger brother and even their dog take notice, but none of them know what has happened or why. Mike's aunt and brother receive only a letter, signed by Mike himself. The letter confirms that he has left to become a soldier. His family assumes he has joined the military because of the way the letter is worded. But his aunt becomes deeply worried. Mike left in the middle of the night without telling anyone, and now all they have is this letter. Mike's life is about to change forever. He has made up his mind he will become a night monster slayer, but the training is far from easy. He is given stacks of paperwork and contracts, outlining that he must leave his family behind. Though his salary will be sent to his family every month, the separation is painful. His aunt, devastated, finally gets hold of his number and immediately calls him. She says, Mike, I've been longing to hear your voice. Why didn't you tell me about this before? You wanted to become a soldier, and now you're already in training. How could you keep this from me? Did you think I would stop you from following your dreams, or Do you not see me as your aunt anymore? Hearing this, Mike quickly apologizes. Please forgive me. That wasn't my intention at all. He tells her that he's on a train, traveling to his training center, which will take at least 2 days. I don't know why this train is moving so slowly, he adds with frustration. His aunt, still worried, tells him, when you reach the military camp, listen to me. Eat properly. Don't let yourself get weak, and don't overexert yourself. Mike reassures her, Aunt, don't worry about me. She sighs and says, how can I not worry about you? When you come back, I'll make sure you get married, so your wife and I can take care of you together. Mike laughs. We'll see about that later, Aunt. Then he adds, I'll be back soon and my salary will be sent to you every year. Please don't save it for me or my future wife. Use it to live your best life and take care of my brother. Mike's younger brother, overhearing the conversation, stands silently, feeling abandoned. His aunt asks, do you want to talk to your brother? Mike hesitates, then says, no, it's okay. I'll talk to him later. The signal is bad here anyway. His aunt nods. All right, I'll hang up now. But promise me until you return, you'll stay safe and keep me updated on everything. I promise, Aunt, Mike replies. They both disconnect the call, but his aunt and brother are left heartbroken. The house feels emptier without him. His younger brother whispers, why did you leave me behind, brother? Meanwhile, Captain arrives and orders a protective formation around Mike's house, ensuring that no monster or demon can enter. He tells Mike, from now on, it's our duty to protect your family. But if you ever return to them, you'll put their lives in danger. Mike nods solemnly. Yes, sir, I understand. After discussing everything, the officers leave, and we see Mike standing at a crossroads. Captain approaches him. Mike, it's time to go. Without saying goodbye to his family, Mike embarks on his new life. As they leave, he asks Captain, where are we going? Captain replies, don't worry, just keep moving, you'll find out soon. The scene shifts to a gun range, where trainees are practicing their shooting skills. We see the sniper showing off his shooting skills to Mike and challenging him to do the same. Mike is completely ready for it. Using his abilities to lock onto the target, he quickly pulls out his gun and starts shooting. However, despite using his enhanced vision, he still misses every shot. Yet, with confidence, he asks, so, how did I do? The sniper smirks and replies, I've never seen aim as unique as yours. This marks the beginning of Mike's intense training under Young, who pushes him to the limits of flexibility, endurance, and strength. He is now given the codename God, 003, the divine agent of God, Seraph Michael. His team constantly reminds him, you are the most special among us. Many eyes are on you, not just ours, but others who seek to control you. There are powerful forces watching his every move, making his decisions more crucial than ever. To prepare him for the battles ahead, Young begins training Mike in mental combat through the Testing Realm program, where the team gathers data on all night monster slayers. Each of these warriors wields a unique weapon, and among them, 5 individuals stand out as almost godlike beings. Known as the Gods of Daya, they include Swordright, 1 statue. Set Mr. Nothing, Yefu, Ufu, the commander of the night monster slayers. These warriors operate in deep secrecy. No one knows their whereabouts, making it nearly impossible to track them. Meanwhile, Mike's training continues, but he still struggles to land accurate shots. Frustrated, he suggests moving the target closer. To improve his reaction speed, he undergoes intense exercises designed to help him escape even the most impossible situations. His instructors explain that this kind of training pushes the body to its absolute limits, activating hidden abilities. Mike soon becomes incredibly fast. His vision, reflexes, and mental fortitude all sharpen. However, something strange happens. Unlike others, he doesn't seem to develop any special abilities. No one understands why. While he can block incoming attacks, unexpected ones still get past his defenses. As he continues his training, Mike learns more about God Seraph Michael, whose divine power has influenced his fate. But the records on Michael are limited, only one word remains: miracle. This hints at an extraordinary event waiting to unfold. Determined to push himself further, Mike asks if they can increase his speed even more. As a result, he surpasses everyone on the team, quickly reaching senior-level status. His physical and mental strength grow at an astonishing rate, leaving even Young in disbelief. I don't understand. How did you advance so incredibly fast? Then, Mike is handed an extremely powerful sniper rifle, one capable of hitting a target 500 meters away with pinpoint accuracy. Using its scope, he lands a perfect shot from that distance. However, shockingly, when he tries to hit a target just 10 meters away, he misses. Even with the scope, Mike pauses and says, maybe this is the miracle. From that moment on, his training becomes even more brutal, transforming him into something beyond a mere soldier. He not only masters his abilities, but begins to truly awaken them. Then he receives a chilling warning. No matter what happens, you must stay away from the ancient God Church. Curious, Mike asks, who are they and what do they want from us? The response sends a shiver down his spine. They don't just want to control us, they want to consume us. They say that Brahmadev, one of India's gods, once destroyed the earth. In the aftermath, other mythological gods emerged. Among them, 3 evil gods discovered the ancient god of the church. These 3 malevolent deities are now trying to wipe us out. It was they who spread the fog to bring about the end of the world. In response, the gods began granting powers to their chosen agents. But the ancient Church of God is hunting people like us, aiming to eliminate us. Mike interjects, are you saying that there are still living people trapped inside the mist? Have you ever seen someone in there? He is reassured, don't worry, you'll understand everything soon. The most important thing to remember is this. If the ancient God of the church ever finds you, our greatest responsibility will be to protect you or, if necessary, take your life ourselves. The scene shifts to Mike sitting with his team, enjoying a delicious meal. As Young reaches for a bite, Mr. Mo suddenly starts eating from the same dish. Mr. Mo, what the heck? I saw that first. That means I get to eat it. Young protests. A playful argument breaks out between them, prompting Mr. Sniper to place his gun on the table, as if signaling that he wants no part in their squabble. He then picks up a small piece of meat, hands it to Mike and says, eat less of this, or your eyesight will suffer. And trust me, we need your eyes working perfectly. Just then, the captain walks in and sighs. Do you guys always fight like kids over food? Mike changes the subject, asking, by the way, where exactly am I staying? Young reassures him, don't worry. You can stay wherever you want. But I need to get to my shooting practice soon. She turns to Nan and says, take him with you and show him to his room. Shannon interjects, not now, I have something important to take care of first. Before they can continue, a man approaches Mike. Forget everything else and listen to me. Whatever you need, just ask me, he says. Later that night, Mike and another team member head out. Are we going to Young's house? Mike asks. Look, every night monster slayer has their secrets, he replies. We don't even know their real identities or where they live. As they continue, they spot Young kneeling near a grave, lighting a candle and crying. What is she doing? Mike wonders aloud. She's performing a ritual in memory of a fallen teammate, the other man explains. She'll probably finish it by tomorrow. Young usually tells me everything, Mike says. But I guess everyone has secrets they keep to themselves. Young sobs harder, and Mike clenches his fists. I can't just stand here and do nothing. No, his companion warns. Now is not the time. If you approach her, her secret won't stay a secret anymore. She won't be able to share it or hide it from you. We should never interfere with someone's personal grief. Mike looks around. Are we the only ones watching her? Of course not, the man replies. Her entire team is watching. They all feel the same pain over Lao Zhao's death. Every member of the squad carries secrets. They know about each other's burdens, but choose not to speak of them. Mr. Sniper and the others all have their own pasts, yet they never pry. Mike, now aware of these unspoken truths, silently heads to his room to rest. The next scene takes us to the realm of the gods. Mike finds himself in the presence of the moon goddess, who is treating his injuries. She hands him some medicine but notices something on his face. Is there something you want to say? You look like you have something on your mind. Speak to me. I'll help however I can. Mike hesitates. No, it's nothing. Instead of taking the pills, the moon goddess lets them fall to the floor. Mike, she says gently, you are like a son to me. Remember this. In a family, Sharing our burdens makes us stronger. It gives us the courage to endure and the strength to move forward. Mike looks down. So many people have died for no reason, he says, but those who love them will always remember them. And now everything I do, I must do it for them. It is because of them that I've reached where I am today, and because of them that I've been given this opportunity. I will not waste it, but use it the right way. The goddess says, "You're such a good and kind-hearted person. Always remember, never compare yourself to others, because each person has their own identity. The ones who live for you always think that you will live a better life, and obviously, that's what you should do. I'm sorry, son. I may not be able to do much for you, but I can give you this power to fight against the evil forces, to face them. That's why today I'm giving you my strength, my bracelet." The goddess looks down and notices that her bracelet is gone. This shocks her, and she recalls, "That girl, she took my bracelet." Mike has no idea who this girl could be. The moon goddess reveals, "Someone just like you came here 5 years ago, wearing the same white dress, and she might be on the 3rd floor of this place." Mike decides to find out who this person is. As he heads to the 3rd floor, he wonders, could someone have been here 5 years ago? The moon goddess explains that the girl had competed with her. If the moon goddess won, the girl would return her son to her, but if she lost, she would have to give up her bracelet. This is why the goddess had to give it up. Mike arrives on the 3rd floor, but when he opens the door, he finds nothing. He then asks, "Are you the one who helped create this world?" "You are the goddess of night, one of the 5 main deities." Just then, Mike finds a letter on the table, and when he opens it, the room starts to change. It's as if the whole setup is shifting, and the letter seems to have been left just for him. The letter reads, "Whoever reads this, this is for you. From now on, you are the master of this whole asylum." Who is this girl, and what does she mean by master of the asylum? Find out in part 4.